introduce this program, and let's start today's workshop. So I will post the link of this public repository to the chat. So in this workshop, we prepared a mini project. The project contains two CI/CD pipelines. One is for the developers team. So when developers complete their application, their codes, they push their code to the GitHub repository, and that time GitHub Actions will be triggered, and it will run the tasks and create a Docker image and push this Docker image to the Docker Hub. The other CI/CD pipeline is for the DevOps team, because DevOps team uses infrastructure as code tools. So all the infrastructures are created based on the scripts. So they can push their scripts to a GitHub repository, and a GitHub Actions will be triggered. A workflow will be triggered and send the code to a remote server, a master node, and then we use this master node to create 3 EC2 instances, which are dev environment, UAT environment, and product environment. Also, we will pull the latest image of the application that developers team developed. That's a very brief overview of this mini project. And in the last 2 workshops, we talked about Terraform and Ansible. Today is about CI/CD with GitHub Action. CI/CD stands for continuous integration and continuous delivery or deployment. And it usually consists of 4 stages: code merge, test, build, and deployment. GitHub Action is a free tool. It's serverless. It's easy to set up and manage because it's written in, all the scripts are written in YAML. Let's all the codes, all the scripts about this CI/CD pipeline is stored in the feature GitHub Actions branch. Here we have another README file. Let's scroll down to the end. Here's the repository of the developers team. So in this public repo, we have a very simple web application written in Python. It used Flask as the web server. So this is the web app. As you can see, it's very easy to understand. It's very simple. So on the root directory, there's welcome WeCloudData v0.1, and in the courses directory, we have DevOps. That's it. And there's requirements.txt, which stores all the libraries that are used in the web application, and there's a test for this web application. So imagine we are developers, and we're going to add a new feature to this application. So what will we do? We clone this repository, and I will open it with Visual Studio Code. Clone this Git repository. Safety desktop. Wait a minute. Why can't I open this folder? All right, let's switch to the develop branch. So if we are developers, we're going to create a new feature, git checkout the feature, it's called web page 2. And let's add something. Let's change this to v0.2 and change the task here so that the task matches with the content of the web application. And then we have to run the task. So the code is fast app. Oh, this is the code to run the application, so we can take a look. The application is hosted on the local host. So as you can see, it's a very simple static web page. Welcome WeCloudData 3.1. Have I saved this file? Anyway, let's run the test. So coverage run source equals the current folder and test.py, and the script pass this test, and we can generate a report. Coverage report. Here we have a test report. Since the code passed the test, then we can, push this branch to our GitHub repository and merge this branch to the developer branch. And when we launch a pull request, we have to run another test so that we make sure the code can work. And then we merge the developer branch to the main branch. And at that time, we have to run another test. And when everything works fine, we can create a Docker image. Here we have a Docker file. So the Docker file is based on Python 3.7 Alpine. it will install Flask, Docker, and coverage. Those are libraries for the web application, and copy the web applications code to this directory, and then run this command to when the instance is created based on this image. So let's build this image. Docker build x build. Because I'm using a Mac, so I have to use build x to create a AMD6 image. Otherwise, it will create a ARM64 image, and then give it a name. That's the username of my Docker Hub. This is the image name, and the version is latest. So when I run this command, it will create an image on my laptop and push this image to the Docker Hub. So when we refresh the page, here pushed a few seconds ago, new image is pushed to this Docker Hub. So every time when we complete our feature, we have to go through this process. It's very annoying, and we can use GitHub Action to automate all this process. So let's go to our DevOps Bootcamp, this repository. GitHub Actions. So what are GitHub Actions? GitHub Actions is a tool to automate the CI/CD workflows of the developers. CI/CD stands for continuous integration and continuous delivery. So when the pipeline is triggered, it runs on a GitHub hosted virtual machine, and there are multiple kinds of virtual machines, such as Mac OS, Linux, and Windows. In those virtual machines, there are some pre-installed softwares that we can use to run our pipelines, like Python, Java, Git, etc. So this is a basic folder structure of GitHub Workflow. So we have to create a .github folder under on your root, and create a workflows folder in a .github folder. And here we create like a number of workflows. We can customize the name of the workflow, and the workflows are written in a YAML format. Here's some events that we can use to trigger our workflow. If you have used GitHub, you should be familiar with push, pull request, and issue. And schedule is a bit different. So this is the syntax to create events. This is so this workflow is realize the pull request, and we can filter which branch the pull request is against. So here in the example, we have debug branch and the main branch. Schedule, we simply replace this part with schedule, and this is like a cron job. This is the minute, hour, day of months, day of week. So basically, this means every hour And this means every day at 5 o'clock. External event is beyond today's scope. So external event is like you can use GitHub API to trigger the workflow. Jobs. So in the workflow, you can have multiple jobs. Jobs can be in parallel or in sequence. If you want to make 2 jobs run in sequence, you need to have a keyword needs. So needs will set up the dependencies between jobs. In this example, jobs start with the keyword jobs, and this is the job name. This is another job name. So we have 2 jobs in this script. The first job is called test. The second job is called build. Ransom. Here you can define which kind of virtual machine you're going to use. You can either use Ubuntu, that's one of the Linux virtual machine, or you can use Windows or Mac OS. Here we use Ubuntu latest, and under each job you have steps. So usually we have multiple steps in a job. In a step, we can run shell commands, or we can run Python commands. There are many kinds of shells you can choose. This is so run is another keyword for you to execute batch commands. PWD, that shows you the current directory. ls-al, that shows everything under this current directory. Actions. Actions are building blocks that power your workflow. They are like functions in Python. You can either write your own action and reference it, simply just use an action from public repository. To use an action, use the keyword users. So this is a bit different from the run. If we want to run batch commands, we use run, but if we're going to use actions, we use users. So actions, checkout. So by default, GitHub Action doesn't clone your repo to the GitHub hosted server. So therefore, we have to clone it on our own. The easiest way to do that is using the checkout action. And setup Python is another action. We can use this to define the specific Python version for us to run in a virtual machine. Environmental variables. There are 3 kinds of environment variables, depending on where you define the environment variables. And we have another default environment variable. Home, that's your home directory. GitHub Workflow, that's the name of the workflow. GitHub Action, that's the name of the action. GitHub Actions, always true when running GitHub Actions. GitHub Actor, that's the name of the person who triggers the workflow. GitHub repository, that's the owner/repo. Here, let's take a look at the example here. Let's make the word bigger. So this is an example. This is a workflow. Here, as you can see, we have 2 workflows in the same GitHub repository. The name of this workflow is run tests on pull request. So when there's a pull request against the developer branch or the main branch, this workflow will be triggered. So what does this workflow do? It runs tests. Okay, that's the job name, run tests. And the workflow will run on a Ubuntu latest virtual machine. And in this job, we have the following steps. So checkout, We explained that before. So we will clone the scripts in the current repository to the virtual machine, and then we install Python 3.8 and use Python 3.8, add that to the environment, the path, and then we install all the dependencies. So we will run a bash command, Python module -m stands for module, pip install upgrade pip, and then pip install all the modules which are stored in this requirements.txt. So here we have Flask coverage and Docker in the requirement.txt. And we echo the workspace. This will show you the workspace, and we can define which shell we're using. Run tests. So this will run the test.py, and then show you the coverage report. All right, so which means when we launch a new pull request to the develop branch, this pipeline will be triggered. Let's run a quick example. Nothing to commit.
Dawei, I believe there are a few questions in the chat box, so just wanted to give you a heads up.
Oh, do you have the version control for your dependencies in requirements.txt? In this example, we don't. We better have them like 2.5.1. But if we don't define the version, it will just install the latest version of that library. Git status, nothing to commit. This is so weird. Give me 1 sec. I'm going to delete the folder and clone it again. Okay, let's do it again. Git branches, git checkout, be developed. Git Ansible lab. Sorry, we downloaded a wrong repository. We should download this one. Okay, branches, git checkout. Checkout, build, feature, web page 2. Change the text and change the task to git status, git add all, git commit. Git push. So we created a new branch, made some changes, and pushed this branch to the GitHub repository. And here, see all the branches. We have feature work, web page 2. Okay, let's launch a pull request. And we're going to merge this feature / web page 2 to the developer branch. Create pull request, merge, confirm merge. Okay, now let's click on actions. Here you can see one workflow is triggered. Run test on PR. And here we can see how each step, the results of each step. So this step checks out the code from the GitHub repository to the virtual machine, set up Python 3.8 for you, install the dependencies, echo workspace. This is the workspace. Run tests for you, generate coverage report. This is a report, and complete job. And here we have another example. So we have another workflow called deliver. Actually, the name is called CD. So this workflow will be triggered when you release your code. And first, there are two jobs in this workflow. One is test, the other one is build. Test is the same with the this run test here. The build job will create a Docker image based on the Docker file. So here's the needs. So that means only when test is successful, build will be triggered. So they won't run in parallel. And this is also run on Ubuntu latest virtual machine. Here are some steps. The first step is to log in to my Docker Hub. And here I used another action called login action, Docker/login. And to use this action, I have to provide two arguments. One is username, the other one is password. This $sign and a double curly braces stands for expression. So we use expression to reference the context. Secret is one of the context. So I will show you how to create a secret, how to create a token on the Docker Hub. So to create a personal access token on the Docker Hub, you click your account settings and security, access token, new access token. So give it a description and generate one token. I already have one. So this one is called GitHub Actions. Then I copy the value of this token and I go back to my repository, click on settings, secrets, actions, new repository secret, give it a name. In this case, I call it Docker Hub token. And username is my Docker Hub username, Jungle Place in this case. So I created two secrets. One is called Docker Hub token. The other one is called Docker Hub usernames. That way, I'm allowed to log into the Docker Hub in the GitHub hosted virtual machine. So I'm able to log in. Checkout, I explained this before. So this will check out the code in your repository to the virtual machine. List all the files, build an image. Docker build the image. -T stands for tag. To build the image, you'll need your username. We reference the Docker Hub username here. / webpage, that's the image name. Colon latest, that's the version. -F stands for file. The file is Docker file. Dot means current current directory. So this step will create an image for us and a push image. This will push the image we just created to the Docker Hub. All right. So we launched a pull request to merge the feature branch to the develop branch. And the next step is to launch another pull request to merge develop branch to the main branch. And that's the part of the Git flow. Okay, so when we create this pull request, another run test on pull request workflow is triggered, because you remember that here branches, we have both develop branch and main branch. It runs the test again, go through the whole process again. And now we should be able to merge pull request, merge. So now our main branch should have the latest code. And then we are going to create a release. Draft a new release. Choose a tag v0.1.4. My third release, publish release. So when this is published, another workflow will be triggered. So this is the CD workflow. And in this workflow, it will run the tests again. Make sure all the scripts work. And then when the test is done, the build will be the next one. So in the build, now we log in to Docker Hub and check out our code, list all the files. That's all the files in our GitHub repository, and build the image. Image is built, push image. Okay, done. So now we go back to our Docker Hub and my profile, my web page, X. Here a few seconds ago. So a new version is created and pushed to the Docker Hub. That's the CI/CD pipeline in the developer's GitHub repository. So we have another pipeline for the DevOps team. This one will pull the latest code, and this one will send commands to the mass node and pull the latest code in the mass node. And all the codes are infrastructure scripts. But I haven't prepared a mass node like this because that will take a lot of time. We'll have to generate a pair of SSH keys and install Terraform and Ansible and create a cron job so that it pulls the latest code from the repository like every 5 minutes and run the Terraform commands and Ansible commands every 5 minutes to ensure that all the version of the Docker containers in all those 3 EC2 instances are the latest. So I'm going to skip this step, but I can show you the script of this GitHub Actions. So go back to the DevOps Bootcamp, go to Feature GitHub Actions. Here we have another YAML file. The workflow's name is called deploy. It will only happen when there's a pull request against the main branch. It uses this SSH action. Basically, it runs git pull on the remote server and echo a message deployment successful to the server. Very simple. But since I haven't created an EC2 instance yet, so this pipeline won't work. But you know, you can get the idea. All right, let's go back to the main. To the README files. I explained workflow, events, jobs, steps, actions. Actions are like functions you can use in the steps. Environment variables. We talked about that expression, $, double curly braces. That's how you reference context in your GitHub Actions. All right, I talked about this workflow, talk about this workflow, talk about this workflow. There are three kinds of like three scopes for the environment variables. The first one is the entire workflow. The second one is job level. The third one is the step level. It depends on where you define your variable. For example, if I define here env env no label DevOps. So if we define our environment variable here, we are able to reference it in every step of all the jobs, in each step of each jobs. And if we define the variables here, run tests, env, label, DevOps, job level. So this following steps can reference this variable. However, if I have another job here under this job, that one can't reference this environment variable. And if I define the environment variable here, env label. So this will be a step level. The next step can't reference this variable. That's all about the variables. That's all. That's all I want to cover today. Thanks, guys.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Dave. Do you guys have any questions? Feel free to speak up, or you can also chat your put your question in its chat box. Dave, I was wondering if you also answered to the question from Rodolfo. He mentioned about Visual Code extension you're using to show with colors that branches you are on.
What Visual Code extension you are using to show colors the branches you are on? To show with colors the branches you're on. What do you mean? If I run git branches, I know that there's a star symbol and the color is green. I forgot which extension I used, but you know, it is what it is. All the red, all the branches in red, they are the removed branches. Sorry, I can't remember.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Do you guys have any other questions?
Sorry, yeah, I have a question. So between like Airflow and this, what do you see like the disadvantages and advantages? Because to me, they seem very, very similar.
Well, Airflow is what you use when you're running like data pipelines. This is more for developers.
But you could
Airflow is
you can still run like DAG type of workflows here too, right? Like with the dependencies and everything.
kind of, but Airflow has more plugins. You can integrate with the ADF, Azure ADF. Like it has, it can send, flash commands to the other virtual machine as well. Yeah, they're kind of similar to some extent. But this is what we use to run CI/CD pipelines, but Airflow is more for you to run data pipelines.
Right. Okay, thank you.
All right, perfect. Thanks for your great question, Marwa. Is there any other questions that we can address for today? No worries. Thank you.
Sorry, I might have a question. It's kind of like not related to code. It's like a general question for what you guys do.
Please.
Do you like kind of provide, let's say if someone is just like barely starting in data science and they're kind of like lost between how to start and which kind of like pathway to go through, do you guys like provide some type of like coaching, or do they have to know where they're going before they contact you, if that makes sense?
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. We do have program advisors like myself and my colleagues. I'm personally have been working with WeCloudData for the past 3 years, and all of the advisors here have a great understanding about the job market because we have regular trainings and workshops with hiring managers and industry leaders who are the best people, to learn from in terms of the required skills that they're looking for and all the steps that is required for career switchers to be able to land a data related job. So we would be more than happy to connect with you on a phone call or Zoom call to get to know you better, give you some insight, and help you to get to know about any of the programs that suits you the best in terms of your expectations and everything. So if there is something that we're not able to help you, if you are actually trying to get to know something technical that maybe a program advisor doesn't know about, then we would be more than happy to set up a one-on-one Zoom call with you and all our program managers like Nat, which I'm not sure if you has been here since the beginning of the presentation. And Nat was the program manager of DevOps. We do also have the program managers for all of our boot camps and learning path who are working closely with the instructors, and they are also professionally working in industry on the client projects that we have, or they work with another company out there. So no matter if you really want to take any program, or at least for now, we are still more than happy to spend time with you as long as it takes, to help you to really find the best path. That's also the purpose of offering these webinars completely for free. Not obviously everyone who attends these webinars are looking to sign up for a program necessarily or anything like that, but we are here to genuinely help you guys as much as we can. I'm not sure if I could answer your question, Marwa.
That did. Thank you so much.
Of course, no problem. I will also try to, both me and my colleague Warney, who is another program advisor at WeCloudData, will send you guys an email after this event, most probably for tomorrow. And we're going to share with you some details and also a link. So if you guys are interested to hop on a quick call or Zoom call just to learn more about the job market and what's going on, feel free to book a call. We'll be more than happy to share some insight. Perfect. Do you guys have any other questions before wrapping up today's webinar?
In terms of the previous question, GitHub Actions versus Airflow. Airflow is written in Python, and GitHub Actions uses the YAML files, and GitHub Action is serverless, while Airflow you have to, install it on a server or install it in Kubernetes. That's a lot of work to do, but GitHub Action is just easier to use, and GitHub Actions pipeline scripts, they're saved in a GitHub repository, and Airflow DAGs, they are saved in the Airflow server.
Yeah, that's why I was asking, actually. I thought like GitHub Actions is much smoother to run, given that it's like serverless, because it is really tough to set up a server on Airflow.
Yeah, but you have more like examples online, like how to run data pipelines for Airflow, but you won't see that much examples on the about the GitHub Actions.
Right. Okay, thank you.
No problem.
All right, thank you everyone for joining us today. Let's call it a day. Feel free to get back to us if there is anything we can help you. We also will share the recording of this webinar with you if you're interested to get the recordings of the last two episodes of this series. Then please reply back to the email so we can help you with the links. Thanks again for joining us today, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye for now, everyone.
Bye, guys.